The dim, yellow light flickered, casting grotesque shadows on the concrete walls of their prison cell. Josh and Selvic sat huddled together on the cold metal bunk, their minds racing. "Doc, what's going on?" Josh asked, his voice trembling slightly. "What's wrong? Why are we in prison?" Selvic ran a hand through his hair, his face etched with confusion. "This is weird, Josh. Who are these people? And why the hell would they put us in prison?" Josh nodded, his fear turning into anger. "The Backrooms wasn't like this before, Doc. It was just empty." Selvic agreed, his voice filled with dread. "Yeah, a lot of things have changed since we were last here." A heavy silence fell between them. The implications of their situation were terrifying. They were prisoners in a place that had become a dystopian nightmare. "How do we get out of here, Doc?" Josh asked, his voice filled with hope. Selvic shook his head. "I don't know, Josh. For now, we're trapped. We have to follow their orders." A wave of despair washed over Josh. "How are we going to find Sarah and reveal the hidden secret?" he asked, his voice filled with desperation. Selvic placed a comforting hand on Josh's shoulder. "Don't worry, Josh. Whatever happens, we'll find a way to rescue Sarah. We're in this together." Josh looked at Selvic, a flicker of hope igniting in his eyes. "Yeah, we are together. We'll do whatever it takes." Selvic squeezed Josh's shoulder. "I have faith in us, Josh." As they sat in the darkness, their minds raced. The fate of Sarah, the mystery of the Backrooms, and their own survival were intertwined in a complex web of uncertainty. They were trapped, but they were not defeated. The future was unknown, filled with both hope and fear. But one thing was certain: they would not give up. The silence in the cell was broken by Josh's voice. "Doc, ever imagined how it feels dying in this world? The Backrooms?" Selvic, lost in thought, was observing the metal gate. He snapped out of it. "It's unknown how dying feels. But I once read a book about rifts and dimensions. It said that dying in a realm is like you are a source of energy." Josh was puzzled. "What do you mean, Doc?" Selvic sighed. "No one knows what happens when you die in the Backrooms. It's a mystery." A wave of sadness washed over Josh. "Yeah, after losing Felix, nothing feels right." Selvic's eyes softened. "Felix, I still remember him. Those were sad moments." A long silence followed. The weight of their situation was heavy on their shoulders. Suddenly, Selvic sat up straight. "Josh, there's something important I need to tell you." Josh's attention was fully focused on Selvic. "What?" Selvic reached into his pocket and pulled out a small metallic device. It was sleek and had a strange, pulsating light. "What is that?" Josh asked, his curiosity piqued. Selvic explained, "This is an Anticipation Collaborator teleporter device. It can transport you to a certain place in the Backrooms where we have some teleporter pads." Josh was stunned. "Why are you giving me this?" Selvic hesitated. "Just keep it to yourself, just in case you feel the need to teleport to the Backrooms." Josh nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. "Okay, thanks." Selvic's expression turned serious. "Use this device carefully, Josh, and remember, never break it. It's our only means of transport." Josh took the device, feeling a surge of responsibility. "I will remember for sure, Doc." As they sat in the darkness, the weight of the device and the uncertain future weighed heavily on their minds. The clang of metal echoed through the cell as the door swung open. 4 masked soldiers, their figures silhouetted against the dim light, stood in the doorway, their guns trained on Josh and Selvic. "Fools, come with us," one of the soldiers barked, his voice muffled by the mask. Josh, ever the defiant one, couldn't resist. "Who are you calling fools?" he retorted, his voice laced with sarcasm. The soldier's grip tightened on his weapon. "I said, come with us." Selvic, realizing that now was not the time for a confrontation, whispered to Josh, "It's not the right time for your action hero routine, Josh. They have guns." Hunch. Josh grudgingly agreed. He and Selvic stood up, their hands raised in surrender. The soldiers herded them out of the cell and into the corridor. "Where are you taking us?" Josh asked, his voice filled with curiosity and defiance. The soldier ignored him, his eyes focused on the path ahead. "Just keep quiet and follow us," he repeated. Selvic remained silent, his mind racing. Something was amiss. The backrooms they knew was a labyrinth of endless corridors, but this felt different. There was a sense of purpose, a direction to their journey. As they walked, the sounds of other soldiers and machinery echoed through the corridors. It was as if they were part of a well-oiled machine, a cog in a vast, terrifying system. Josh couldn't shake the feeling of unease. Something was terribly wrong. They were being led deeper and deeper into the heart of this new, sinister backrooms. The journey seemed to last forever. With each step, their sense of isolation grew. They were mere pawns in a game they didn't understand. The scene shifts to a lavishly decorated room. A man, exuding an aura of power and cunning, sat reclined in a plush leather armchair. The room was a testament to his wealth and influence, adorned with expensive art pieces and technological marvels. A soft knock interrupted the man's reverie. "Come in," he commanded, his voice deep and resonant. The door opened, revealing a younger man, his features bearing a striking resemblance to the man in the armchair. "What is it, Noah, my son?" the man inquired, his tone laced with impatience. Noah, the younger man, stepped into the room, his expression grim. "Father, some of my very known enemies have arrived. They are Selvic and Josh. They are here to find that girl, Sarah, their friend." A sinister smile crept across the man's face. "Oh, so they've come for their friend, have they? Well. We did manipulate the girl's path so she wouldn't escape, but it seems these people are determined to find her. Let's welcome them in a tragic way, shall we?" Noah nodded, his eyes gleaming with a cold determination. "All right, Father. Mac is on it." The two men exchanged a knowing glance, their minds filled with dark plans. The fate of Selvic, Josh, and Sarah was about to take a sinister turn. The soldiers marched Selvic and Josh down a long, sterile corridor. The walls were devoid of any decoration, their stark whiteness creating a sense of isolation. Finally, they reached a large, imposing door. One of the soldiers spoke into a communicator, his voice muffled by the helmet. "Sir, we've brought them." The door slid open with a hiss, revealing a spacious control room. At the center of the room sat a man in a crisp suit and a military-style cap. He looked up from a holographic display, his eyes scanning Selvic and Josh with a cold, calculating gaze. "So, these are the trespassers?" the man asked, his voice carrying a hint of amusement. The soldiers nodded, their stance rigid. "Leave them to me," the man commanded. The soldiers saluted and exited the room, leaving Selvic and Josh alone with the mysterious figure. Josh, ever the curious one, couldn't resist asking, "Who are you?" The man smiled, a cold, almost predatory expression. "Take a seat, young man. Let's have a chat." Selvic and Josh cautiously sat down in the chairs provided. The man leaned forward, his eyes fixed on them. "My name is Mac, and I'm the leader of SOB." Selvic raised an eyebrow. "SOB? What does that mean?" Mac chuckled, a low, menacing sound. "SOB stands for Shadow Bureau Operation. Our mission is simple, search and destroy." "Wow, cool," Josh said, trying to sound nonchalant. Selvic, however, was not fooled. Something about this man and his organization felt sinister. "Okay, but what's wrong with the backrooms?" he asked, his voice filled with suspicion. The stage was set for a confrontation. The truth about the backrooms and the shadowy organization known as SOB was about to be revealed. Mac leaned back in his chair, a smug expression on his face. "Nothing much," he said casually. "Just the backrooms changed, and the rift changed with it. As the leader, I took charge of the backrooms. We control it from here." Josh nodded, trying to appear unaffected by the revelation. "Cool, man." Mac turned his attention to Josh and Selvic. "So, what's your name?" "You two?" "I'm Josh, and he's Dr. Selvic," Josh replied. Mac nodded, his eyes scanning them. "So, what are you doing here? You too?" Josh hesitated, then said, "We want our friend back." Mac raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "What does that mean?" Selvic explained, "Our friend, a girl, was trapped here and she couldn't escape the backrooms." Mac's interest peaked. "Wow, interesting. What's her name?" "Sarah," Josh replied. "Her name was Sarah. She never came back to the real world." Mac took a sip of coffee, his expression thoughtful. "Sorry, but we've never seen any girl here," he said, his voice laced with indifference. Josh's heart sank. "What? It's impossible. She was trapped." Selvic, his suspicion growing, added, "I'm 100% sure Sarah's path was manipulated. If we came back, why couldn't she?" Josh nodded, his anger rising. Yeah, right. Something weird is going on. Mac leaned forward, his eyes glinting with amusement. All right, guys, let's be real. We've never seen any girl named Sarah here, so you should get back to your world. Josh's determination hardened. No, we won't. We need to find her. Selvic's gaze remained fixed on Mac, his mind racing. Something wasn't right. This man was hiding something. The confrontation had just begun. The truth about Sarah's disappearance and the sinister intentions of the Shadow Bureau operation was about to be unveiled. Mac leaned forward, his eyes studying Selvic. Okay, wait, Selvic, you look like a scientist, right? Selvic nodded, surprised by the question. Yes, I am a scientist. I worked on rifts and dimensions. Mac's interest piqued. Okay, to find that girl, we need to check the rift registries. Selvic raised an eyebrow. What's that? Josh, equally confused, echoed the question. What? Mac paused, considering his words. Sorry, but we can't allow just anyone to access this information. Your friend. What was her name again, Josh? Josh replied, his voice filled with frustration. Why? Mac explained. It's dangerous, and only expert scientists can handle this kind of thing. So Selvic might want to come with us, please. Josh was confused. What about me? Mac reassured him. Don't worry, we can take care of you. We'll send you with our SOB forces. You can wait in the nearest room. Selvic agreed, understanding the gravity of the situation. All right, Josh, I'll meet you soon. As Selvic followed Mac down a side corridor, Josh was left alone with the soldiers. They marched him away from the control room, down a different corridor. What does Operation 8978 mean? Josh asked, his voice filled with curiosity and apprehension. The soldier ignored him, his focus on the task at hand. Josh was alone, surrounded by the cold, sterile environment of the Backrooms. He was a prisoner in a world he didn't understand, separated from his only ally. As the door to the room closed behind him, a sense of isolation washed over him. The fate of Sarah and the unraveling mysteries of the Backrooms hung in the balance. In the heart of the Shadow Bureau Operations headquarters, a man sat in a dimly lit room, surrounded by multiple screens. It was Noah's father, the mastermind behind the entire operation. Beside him stood Noah, his expression a mix of anticipation and satisfaction. The screens displayed various feeds, including the control room where Mac was interacting with Selvic and Josh, and the corridors where the soldiers were escorting the two captives. Our plan is succeeding, Father, Noah said, his voice filled with pride. The man nodded, a sinister smile playing on his lips. Indeed, my son. We've managed to separate them. This will be interesting. As the feed shifted to focus on Josh, the man's interest intensified. The soldiers were leading Josh deeper into the labyrinthine corridors of the Backrooms. Josh, growing increasingly agitated, asked, "Where are you taking me, guys?" The soldier's response was curt, "To an interesting place." Confusion washed over Josh as the soldiers continued to march him forward. The destination was unknown, and a sense of dread crept into his heart. The stage was set for a new chapter in this terrifying saga. As Josh was led deeper into the heart of the Shadow Bureau operation, the truth about their sinister plans was about to be unveiled. The soldiers marched Josh deeper into the labyrinthine corridors, their footsteps echoing through the silent expanse. As they turned a corner, one of the soldiers let out a low chuckle. Aha! It was part of our plan, he said, his voice filled with amusement. Josh, confused and alarmed, demanded, "What?" Before he could react, the soldier raised a peculiar device, resembling a cross between a gun and a scientific instrument. With a press of a button, a beam of light enveloped Josh. A surge of energy coursed through his body, and then darkness. In the control room, Noah and his father watched the scene unfold with satisfaction. "Thank you, Mac," Noah's father said, his voice filled with approval. Noah grinned. "One target down. With Josh gone, Mac can focus on Selvic. The girl will be ours." The man nodded, his eyes gleaming with triumph. Meanwhile, in a dimly lit room, Sarah lay unconscious, tied to a chair. Her pale skin and labored breathing were signs of her deteriorating condition. Back in Josh's world, a different scene unfolded. With a thud, Josh landed unceremoniously on a trash can in his kitchen. His big sister, startled by the noise, rushed into the room. "Oh my God, Josh, what are you doing here?" she exclaimed, her voice filled with concern. Josh tried to get up, but dizziness overcame him. "No, Selvic," he mumbled before collapsing to the floor, unconscious. The fate of Josh and Selvic was hanging in the balance. While Josh had miraculously returned to his world, Selvic remained trapped in the clutches of the Shadow Bureau operation. And Sarah, the key to unlocking the mysteries of the Backrooms, was still in grave danger.